With us now from Washington is political reporter for Time Magazine, Zeke Miller. Zeke, thanks so much for being with us. I do have to ask you, he met with a number of Hispanic supporters back on August 20th. People thought he was going to soften. Then yesterday we hear him calling for triple the number of immigration enforcement officers, a special deportation task force, no amnesty, among other things. This doesn't really sound like Trump softened much at all.
No, absolutely not. This entire 3-week episode for Donald Trump has been something of a, it's still a mystery. Why did he go about suggesting he'd soften his support? Obviously because he's seeing the poll numbers that we're all seeing, that he's struggling with Hispanic support and also with white voters who question whether or not he is racist. We're seeing that in poll after poll after poll. So this is, yes, he went to the softening side of things to see if he can maybe move those numbers a little bit, but then he really didn't do them much of any good. And then also when he started doing that, he started getting pushback and blowback from his conservative base supporters who wanted him to continue railing against illegal immigration, which is what we saw last night. So there's a little bit of whiplash here, but also a strategic and a tactical misstep by the candidate. He really didn't accomplish much in all of this. All he did was sort of leave people confused about what he truly believes.
Another Trump promise is that border wall and who will pay for it. So let's take a listen.
We will build a great wall along the southern border, and Mexico will pay for the wall. 100%. They don't know it yet, but they're going to pay for the wall.
Just hours before in Mexico, Trump had said that he and the president of Mexico didn't discuss payment, but then the Mexican president tweeted saying that they did discuss it and that he said Mexico would not fund the wall. So, Zeke, what do you make of all of this?
Yeah, I mean, at best for Donald Trump, this is a sin of omission, that it was mentioned to him, and he didn't call it a discussion. When Trump said in his statement yesterday after the meeting with Enrique Peña Nieto, he said, we didn't discuss this issue. So if Peña Nieto had mentioned it to him, then it was, maybe it wasn't a discussion. At worst, though, this is Donald Trump certainly not necessarily playing straight with his supporters. He said, that we just tabled this issue. That was the implication he gave to everyone. And in fact, if he was told in no uncertain terms by the president of Mexico, who has said this over and over and over again over the last year, that Mexico won't pay for this wall, that does raise some doubts about his credibility, even to his own supporters, as well as can he actually get this done? If even in a private meeting, he seems to have gotten rolled a little bit by the Mexican leader.
I have to ask, up until this point with the speech, was Trump's take on immigration largely just playing into his supporter base, or a number of lines in the speech yesterday that he seemed to really try to go and have them clap and be a part of the conversation? But how does this win over moderate and independent voters?
Yeah, that's the big question in all of this. This was, this was a base speech, the type of speech that he gave in August of 2015 that won him the Republican primary. This wasn't an August 2016 speech. It didn't cater to anyone really who doesn't already like Donald Trump, who doesn't or isn't already inclined to support him. There was, if anything, his speech in Mexico City yesterday, after that meeting with Peña Nieto, is an example of an attempt to do some of that, saying, speaking highly of Mexican-American immigrants in the United States, an attempt to show a different side of him, to show a presidential tone. And then that speech last night was just a full-on base play. Didn't really expand his support beyond that, and is a really striking move, since immigration really is a losing issue for him. The majority of the country doesn't agree with him and his proposals on these issues.
And Zeke, over to Hillary Clinton. It's come out today that Bill Clinton, it's being reported that he used tax dollars to subsidize the Clinton Foundation and to support his wife's private email server. To be clear, though, that money was from a federal government program that does financially support former presidents. But does this just add fuel to the fire here, to the allegations surrounding their personal and professional crossover? This can't be what Hillary Clinton's camp is looking for today.
Yeah, this is the last story they really want to deal with, anything around the emails. And obviously this is unprecedented in the sense that we've never had a former first lady, the spouse of a former president, run for office in their own right. And with that are going to be a whole bunch of these questions about the continued support that Bill Clinton gets as a former president. What will his role be in a Hillary Clinton White House? What will he do and not do on the global stage, or even in the U.S.? But in terms of the very specific instance here, I mean, this is just yet another story keeping emails in the headlines, which all goes to contribute to sort of the negative perception surrounding Hillary Clinton on these issues.
Yeah, I mean, in early August, Clinton held an 8-point lead average in national polls. That's now down to under 5 points, it looks like. Did the controversy surrounding the email scandal, then the foundation now, does that hurt her with voters?
Oh, there's no doubt that this is hurting her in every poll. At the same time, an 8-point lead seems to be something we won't see in this country. I mean, we don't have blowout type elections, at least really in the modern era since really 1984, maybe 88 a little bit. But usually most in national elections will be within 5 points or less. An 8-point poll seemed to be something of an anomaly. It's going to tighten. The race will still tighten. We have those debates, but certainly those negative stories have taken their toll on her. They probably would have taken their toll eventually as we got closer to Election Day, but it happened in August rather than October.
Well, Zeke Miller in Washington, thank you for all of the insight.
Thanks for having me.